Okay, so a brief update regarding the breach deck, as I call it, blue-white breach deck, which is actually just like a surveillance cam grinding station. There is a video that goes through the combo, so I will not go around it. You can find it on my channel. So this was the initial version, right? So 3 copies of surveillance. So we draw it enough the times with the grinding station. We can use Oswald to find the elements if they kill Oswald. We have Agatha Soul Cauldron, and then we loop it with Emery. We have some draw card engine with Bubble, Sentinel to go to that point, see through the deck a bit. We have Ensnaring Bridge as the final protection against aggro decks, so we can find it with Oswald if we just sacrifice Grinding Station or Agatha Soul Cauldron if we have to. Right, and we have Urza Lord Artificer as a top end 4 mana spell that kind of helps us stabilize and also play a lot of spells. Taping Bubble for 1 mana, taking Sentinel. It's now a mana dork and all of that. And some cards here as the sideboard. Now, 3 rebukes, just as some counter spell magic that can be useful. Now, the problem with this deck was that I feel like you have too much air, so to say. So if you draw 2 surveillance cams, it's kind of like top opponent creature that's the most threatening, but it's not really like usually a card that wins you the game on its own. Early Grinding Station also doesn't usually help you. If you can deploy it, you can dig if you have Emery, right? If you don't have Emery, it's a blank card in the end, majority of the cases. If you don't have Cauldron, right? Just milling cards without Emery in play, it's also, not giving you anything. So I saw the video Spike playing this deck once, and then he gave up on it. I played it before him actually, this combo with Oswald, and then you can check the timestamp, and then it won in the Pro Tour, and there was some interest around it. Spike played it once, but yeah, it didn't pan out. So, but I came into some decks playing that used Loki. So this is the updated version that I was playing recently. Yes. So a few changes. Urza is okay, but I think 1-off is enough. If you draw it late game, it can be a nice top deck. If you mill it for Agatha, it can be alright. But usually you don't want to have 2 in hand. And I ended up in a few games where I had 2 in hand. Didn't have my Moxes for acceleration, or didn't have legendary to even use Amber, and then it was a bit of a pain. Yeah. So I cut it to 1. Now, a bit risky. I cut Grinding Station in Surveillance Camera to 1 copy as well, because of the fact that in multiples they are not really good. And I added Loki for even extra digging. Yeah, so Loki is pretty great in this deck. It's legendary for your Amber. It pairs with Bubble, pairs with cards like Scrabbling Claws, Shriekhorn, Skateboard, and Portable Hole to draw you extra cards, which was always a problem in this deck, that again it has a lot of air, so if you can draw more cards you have more chances of finding a piece you need. Now, I initially played for Sentinels, but I reduced it to 2 portable hull, 2 Sentinels. Sentinels is nice because you can Agatha Soul Cauldron, makes them stronger, and opponent has to pay more mana for you not to draw a card. It's an artifact creature you can loop with Emery as a, you know, every turn blocker if you need to. But being able to find portable hull with Oswald turned out to be useful in majority of the cases. Yeah, so I did like a 2-2 split here. Right, so I think that build gave me more success than the previous one. I've also cut 1 Oswald. Having 2 or 3 Oswalds in hand, it's nothing worse than that, I would say. You want to find 1, usually, especially after sideboard where you can have some hate cards, right? Mites, spell bombs, more crypts. So having 1 is good, having 3 is bad, and that's why I've also cut Urza. I also removed some of the fetch lands. In this deck you really don't want to pay life, because you can kill with constructs, but it's not your main plan. Constructs usually become these big dumb creatures, and I had many games where I had 2-3 constructs that was 7/7. Opponent had some cheap creatures to block and then killed me with flyers, basically. Yeah, so not great. And there's a third version. So on the sideboard, maybe before I will go to third version, I've took off the to those boys that don't allow opponent to search library, and kind of introduce like a graveyard threat with self-mill. That with Emery helps, right? Always, because it's okay for Titan, but it's turn 3 card. Maybe turn 2 if you get lucky with Amber, right? And like Tamio. But then he only stops searching library. Didn't end up using it much. I mean, maybe in Amulet Titan it's nice and things like that, like they can't search for cards, but again, third turn. Lately I haven't been playing against much Titan, so I feel like not needed, maybe 1 copy. Vaccine Bubble is also an interesting one, because you really doesn't help you. Yeah, like you have a lot of 0 mana spells, and I feel like Force of Negation is very annoying, but the amount of times you will have your Vaccine Bubble in hand with only 1 piece is very small. Getting it with Saga later on, like every 0 you draw, it's kind of self-counted. You can go through your combo, and if you sacrifice it and draw a card to go through your combo, then your opponent can Force of Negation your combo. So I haven't really found when would I use this card, to be honest. And also with this one, I think the graveyard hate effect of this card, you have Crypt, you have Lantern, like how you have Agathas naturally, like how much graveyard hate do you need? So yeah, so that was so I put more portable holes and then Teferi. Okay, that was the initial one. And then in the third version I put Canonist. So Canonist is your answer to basically Storm. It can limit you a bit. However, it says each player who has cast a non-artifact spell can't cast additional non-artifact spells. So it doesn't stop your combo because you're looping Surveillance and one of the Moxes back to back. So you can still do your combo, but the other players can't usually because their combo is usually non-artifact based, right? For now, one copy. Again, you don't get into the Storm matchups very often, so and it's only good for those decks where they try to play a lot of spells a turn. Again, I ported 2 portable halls. I still have 2 if I really need to play 4, especially after sideboarding. Your opponents usually will play some artifact hate cards, you know, Collector Oof, yeah, they will play their own Vexing Bubbles, they will play their Graveyard Hate for your Emery Dig, those kind of artifacts usually. So it's wise to put more of those if you feel those are coming. Or if you feel that this is a deck that will play rather like Meltdown or Wrath of the Skies, then you take your Test of Talents. That's a simple one use, removes all copies from their deck, so it's quite great card against those ones. I keep one Teferi for the matchups when I know opponents having a lot of instants or is playing like Necro Dominance, things like that, so they can't really play similar artifacts to the previous version. So I have 2 cards for Graveyard Hate. Spell Bomb, if they have some kind of way to cheat a creature, you can bounce it back. Might for some kind of enchantments, artifacts that cost more than 2, because again, for 2, portable hole is usually good, but Haywire Might you can get from Saga. So usually if I feel like I know there will be some artifact enchantment hate coming, then I can put one. If you need obviously for some activated abilities, Shadow Spear for usually burn decks or decks that really try to race you and kill you before you get your combo. Torpor Orb for Flicker decks. I think this will be the first card that I can take out maybe for additional Ashiok, because you have your own Emrys, but Emry is the only creature that has Enter effect maybe, and Urza, I guess. You can still find other ways to dig, right, with your Shikhorn, etc. Not optimal, but if you're playing against Flicker deck with Solitudes, Flicker Wisp, all those cards, right? Then I feel this can be useful because they have a lot of cards against Solitudes to kill all your creatures basically with Ephemerates. They have this Witch Enchanter that when enters it kills artifact or enchantment. They just again flicker it back and forth, you just can't keep up. So I think this is a good sacrifice. You just take Torpor, maybe you remove one Emery and you say, okay, I try to stabilize with constructs, maybe get Ensnaring Bridge in, things like that. But again, haven't used it in a while, haven't seen a lot of Flicker decks recently, I haven't played against it, so this would be probably a first card that I haven't put in a while. Okay, so again, a bit refreshed. One Urza really skimming down on the Surveillance combo to one card. Force of Negation becomes much bigger problem, but it is what it is. We can survive any other counterspell effect because they land in the graveyard, and unless an opponent has a counterspell plus Graveyard Hate that we cannot manage, then can still go off. And then I put one copy of Grand Gran. Cases where I have Oswald in hand, but I have my Agatha Soul Cauldron. I would really rather have it in the graveyard than in my hands, yes, to equip it to the creature that doesn't have Summoning Sickness. Same for Emery. So sometimes it's useful. Again, it's like a selection card, obviously. If you have a Tamio turn 1 and Amber, you deploy both. Yeah, so it's a bonus. I don't think you would play more than one in this deck though. It's not an artifact. It's just a legendary creature for Amber and some card selection if your opponent is not playing 2/2 creatures, to be honest, right? And it can attack a turn or two. Now the final version, final update that I'm testing is after introduction of the key to the side door. I'll be honest, I don't have much problem in this deck with having too many copies of creatures. Additional Emery is big, additional Oswald is bad, but I've cut it down to 3 copies because of that. Additional copy of Tamio is like, you flip, you can still play your Tamio. It's quite easy to flip, right? Throw 2 cards of this deck. Or if your opponent has removal, then having additional copy is actually pretty good. But having said that, I am trying out this card. With not much success, but let's give it a more goes. So what I've cut is I've cut Gran, 1 Hole, 1 Sentinel. So I'm really skimming on those 2 cards, saying okay, I draw Sentinel, fine, a portable hole I can always find, and then I have additional ones if I need to. And then I've added this 4th Oswald because again, if I play this key to the side door, I want to have 4 copies of my legendaries. So in the end, I'm playing 1 less Amber, because Amber I feel is a bit weaker than Opal. Depends on the situation obviously, but some decks killing creatures, it's really like an error card, and you still can use your Mox Opal if you play 2 artifacts, so you attack once with Tamio. So statistically I think Amber is usually weaker, but so the amount of the amount of cards that are legendary, like, is 23 cards, right? That you have 4 copies of each legendary, yeah, maybe 20, and then you have 26 if you add 3 copies. Yeah, so it should be decent. There's a high chance that you will get like a double card right out of this with key to the side door. I use also the one game I won just with construct beatdown, because problem with constructs, right, is that they are big dumb creatures that a 1/1 creature can block, right? And now in the era of tokens, cat tokens and everything, they just like, you have a big beefy 8/8 creature just doesn't do anything, yeah. But with the key to the side door, you make it unblockable. It starts to become a bit different discussion. Late game you have plenty of mana, so this is fine. Also you're targeting your creature, which can trigger low key. Played it like once or twice. They draw a card for 2 mana. Not crazy, but you can do it every turn if you don't have anything better to do. Can be fine. And the second one is flipping Tamio, basically. If you have Tamio, right, drawing 2 cards, and you can discard a creature that you can still use, Agatha Soul Cauldron to put on potentially, right? So there is potential. Of course, you are taking out cards, yes. So you are sacrificing a bit the additional sentinels or like hate cards, but something for something. It's still playing 18 creatures, which every 3rd card is a creature, so it's, I think, not a bad chance of having something that you can cauldron on, plus tokens, of course, of Saga. So for now, version 3 feel like plays better for me, but I'm still checking the key, the one with the key, and still finding plenty of success, as you will see on my channel. So yep, we'll keep you posted if anything else changes much about this deck, but for now that's the version that we're gonna keep on playing with.